we will keep the line open for those of you who want to stay back. We're happy to do that. And for the speakers, I really thank you all. And if you can manage to stay back a little bit, that would be wonderful as well. Okay, I might hand it over to you then to close it out, Val, or maybe open up for a few more questions. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Yeah, everybody's talks were so relevant and to the broader picture of all the things we need to consider for next year, including your wish list, Renee, which we appreciate. I did have a question, Ray, before you had to go, in terms of any thoughts, not forecasting, but just in terms of the level of, the frequency of mutation and the opportunistic life of this virus, although I know it's not actually alive, but that was something else I learned recently. But anyways, any thoughts about how, we're scrambling to deal with Omicron from a microbiology perspective, any forecasting of what this kind of virus might still do?
Right. So this is difficult. The question aims at what do we think is the full repertoire of mutation of this virus, and what are the implications for the severity of disease and coverage of the vaccine? The short answer is that we don't know. If you do the combinatorics, the number of possibilities of protein, if you take the length of the spike glycoprotein and you see at each position you can have 1 out of 20 amino acids, there's just not enough protons in the universe to make all the possible protein of that length. Now, of course, not all the possibilities are going to be functional for a virus, but the number are still gigantic. And we do not know how to predict the behavior of the virus reliably just from the genetic sequence or the sequence of its protein. And we do not know where in the sequence space it can evolve and with what consequence. We do suspect that the repertoire is far larger than what we have seen so far. Now, to me, it never was absolutely certain that it could truly be an immune escape mutant, because, for example, think about the measles virus, which is also an RNA virus, which is also mutating when it replicates. It has so far accumulated 22 genotype and subgenotype, yet the same vaccine that we've been using for decades is still working extremely well for all the genotype of measles. However, this last Omicron variant shows that this one is getting awfully close to be a vaccine escape mutant. Now, we know how to deal with this with the mRNA vaccine. You just manufacture a new mRNA vaccine with a new sequence. So in principle, it's straightforward, but the logistics are daunting because then you need to revaccinate everyone. And it's been said by many, many people, quite correctly, I believe, that in order to control the pandemic, you need to bring down the transmission of the virus very, very low everywhere on the globe. So it's not enough to vaccinate the first world countries, so to speak. You need to vaccinate the planet, which is not easy. And by the way, it's understood that effort must be done to share the vaccine, but it should be observed that vaccination started at the end of December last year, so 1 year ago. And we have already administered 12 billion doses of vaccine worldwide, which is a phenomenal performance that's never been achieved before in history, and especially if you consider that this virus 2 years ago was unknown to science. As a contrast, when we eradicated smallpox, the campaign for eradication of smallpox started in the late 50s. It was finished in 1977, was the last naturally acquired infection. So 20 years to vaccinate the whole globe once, at a time when the population was 3.5 billion. So this vaccination effort in 1 year has been unparalleled in our history, but it is not quite enough just yet.
think the distribution beyond first world or Western countries, I think, is a major issue, and understanding all the sociological barriers as well as the logistical barriers, which includes a lot of what the first world has donated are all, heading for expiry. And I guess even that whole concept of the expiration of the vaccines is kind of unfair. But I mean, scientifically, if they don't work, it's no use putting them in anyone's arm, I guess. But I don't know. It's complicated, just like.
Well, and interestingly enough, that was an initial theoretical advantage of the adenovirus vector, the Johnson & Johnson and the AstraZeneca, is that these vaccines do not require freezing. They are quite good at just with an ordinary refrigerator, 4 degrees Celsius. So that was a theoretical advantage.
Yeah, it's interesting. I saw some of those in vitro studies that showed, like, beginning AstraZeneca, then Moderna, then Pfizer booster or whatever was doing really well. But I'm not sure that we would deliberately design a program that would be like that, build in steps. But is there potentially value? That's getting, I guess, to a level of detail maybe, but it's interesting. Canada, I guess, was the only place that mixed at the beginning.
I think also what I'm getting from this is that, vaccinations aren't a silver bullet, and, the fact that the efficacy is dropping down, and we need additional public health measures. And I think if everybody on this webinar just think about those additional public health measures as well, because we don't know what's going to happen with the vaccinations and the boosters and what's happening in the future. I mean, is there going to be another variant after Omicron? Who knows?
Well, I don't think we're going to control this pandemic fast enough to prevent the rise of other variants. We have seen more than a dozen variants emerge. If you count the variant of interest, we have seen 5 major variants of concern, and I have been encouraging colleagues to learn the Hebraic alphabet because the Greek alphabet is running out. This is what we did in mathematics when they ran out of the Greek alphabet. They started to use the Hebraic alphabet, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, and so forth. So, just saying.
That wasn't the New Year's idea. I thought that we would come here is that we all had to learn a new alphabet because the variants would keep coming. That's pretty sad. But I guess facing up to that reality and concentrating on these non-pharmaceutical interventions and driving the transmission down any way that works within the society, I think is it's really important.
I'm just wondering with our other speakers, Val, if there's any closing comments. Maybe we could just go around. I just want to thank again Ashley, Matthew, Renee, and Dahlia. Do any of you have any? And obviously, Dr. Tellier, as always, we're very grateful. But just as any other final comments before we close out, I think.
I'd be and in terms of over the holidays, I guess, and then also for the new year, that's sort of our theme is what can we do better, what can we do differently or more of, or whatever. Anyways, final comments from your perspective.
From my end, I won't turn my video on. I have my infant here with me and he's camera shy. But from my end, I would just say, if you can, follow our Twitter account, COVID Test Finders, and help us continue the advocacy to free the rapid antigen test, because we are being heard. We're garnering a tremendous amount of media attention, and we need to continue that momentum. It's only through our collective voices that we will be able to give our community the public health tools necessary to help curb the transmission of COVID.
Thank you.
Thanks, yeah.
I know Lindsay Marr, she sort of has a kit. She has a CO2 monitor, she has an N95, and she has a rapid test kit. So that's her kind of emergency kit that she talks about. Ashley, did you have any final comments?
I mean, I don't really have anything to add. I think just to sort of echo what's already been said, I think, the fact that people are still attending calls about COVID or webinars about COVID 2 years into this, suggests that, you're part of the solution. And as much as I feel like personally, I do a lot of griping and complaining about the poor response and, how we should do things better. I think, as we head into the new year, I would personally just like to thank everybody, because the fact that, we are where we are right now, part of that, as dire or as bad as things may feel, we've made a lot of progress. And I think that really relates to the fact that individuals have been advocates and have really pushed for our government response to be better. So I just want to say thank you for being present today and for being present for the past 2 years. I do think it's made a difference.
Thanks, Ashley. And I know I'm just back to then Matthew, it's kind of this out of the box thinking too, when we think about what's gone wrong and analyze our failure. I think, that's really important too. I don't know if you had anything else to add to that, Matthew.
Sorry, I had my booster shot yesterday and I'm having a 98th percentile immune response today. So I'm just sitting here shivering. I just, the thing that I have found so amazing is the interdisciplinary engagement. I've learned so much from panelists like this who help me expand my mind and understand the problems we're facing in different ways. So my encouragement is always, the more you can work in interdisciplinary space, that diversity just of opinions is what David Fissman joked the other day, that he thinks that's one of the best ways to win a Nobel Prize, is just to steal some good thoughts from another discipline and then import them to yours. A positive spin on interdisciplinary work.
And how many Nobel Prizes were won with that method so far?
Thanks, Matthew. Dr. Tellier, you didn't, I guess, the number of publications you've had and being involved in SARS initially and then, fault tracking, have you got any closing comments now? Just to, that's...
Well, right now I think we're having a problem because this Omicron is blowing in our face. However, I think that if we want to be objective, there are many reasons to keep a positive attitude about this, because we have many more tools in the toolbox that we had 1 year ago. We have vaccines that work, and we know how to adapt them if we have even more extreme variant. And even though we have to administer the third booster dose, we are started with a rather large majority of the population that have already received 2 doses. So that's money in the bank, so to speak. We understand now, and we should have understood a lot sooner, but we understand very well how it is transmitted, and we have methods to inhibit transmission, both in terms of protective equipment, engineering control and infection control, and public health measures. So I think that we're considerably ahead of where we were when this pandemic started. And I think Prime Minister Trudeau was correct. The next few months will be difficult, but I think this is the last part of this pandemic. We really have, and the other thing I'd like to mention also is that we are also beginning to have effective specific antiviral drugs for this virus, which will also be brought to bear in the next few months and will make a difference.
It's good to have a positive note, that's for sure. So thanks for that.
It's still going to be a bit of a rough ride, though. Sorry.
No, that's helpful. And Renee, about you gave us your list. Do you have anything else to offer?
Honestly, for me, it's what's been said as well. Collaboration. It's international collaboration. I've been working with Iowa, as I said, for many years now, and there's so much more we could do if we work closer together. And it's really the top of my list to see an increased involvement from all the different players, and I'm talking all players definitely. So it's I have positive thoughts about the future, and this being said, for me it's a little out of the box, but the sustainable development goals by the UN, I think these targeted different factors that we came with some priorities, and we'll be getting close to the 2030 timeline, which is the target that they initially indicated as some target. And the more we will see some target being put like that, and eventually reaching out or not attaining our objective, just like we see with the global warming, and we hear now about 2050 or 2075, and how much time they will take before they will be a gas-free or whatever, zero emission. Still putting some objective and targets, and putting yourself, challenging yourself. This is the right way to progress. And that's what encouraged me a lot, that we established these goals, and we tend to see more and more of these goals. And one of these goals is also, it's another topic, is about being zero asbestos in Canada by 2040. So I don't know, it's something, I'd say 2040, but if we don't put a year and a date on something, eventually you just don't progress. And I feel that it's very positive, and that's why I'm encouraged as well with COVID. We put timeline, we put priorities, and we put energy. So that's a good attitude. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thanks, everybody. And I do echo your comments, Ashley, too, that everybody who takes the time to come out to these sessions, month over month and sometimes week over week, they are, out fighting in their workplaces and in their communities to make a difference. So we do have to be grateful for everybody's attendance and their energy and efforts. So we do have a session lined up already for January 14th, because we couldn't let the year end without starting to plan another one. And we've got a speaker actually to talk about equity and the pandemic equity, and looking at occupational health and safety in general from that lens, because we know that the pandemic's been very inequitable in its impact in workers and in communities, and that we need to think about that even more. We need to think about it in terms of COVID prevention, but also in terms of broader health and safety practice, I think. And then we have guests from AIHA and IBEC to talk about their new tool that's around workers and workplaces doing risk assessment to improve the quality of air for COVID prevention, but also indoor air quality. So, and then hopefully Joe Vicon will also be able to attend, but he's not yet confirmed, although he's confirmed he wants to talk. We just haven't, we're not 100% sure to talk about the sort of civic action from that Protect Our Province perspective. So he'll hopefully be with us as well. And I think in wrap up, we just want to wish everybody a happy, healthy, and safe holiday, and especially here's to a much better new year. Hopefully it will truly be new in our approaches, in our successes against COVID and against other health and safety challenges. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh, I have one more note. And we ran a workshop last week, last Friday, of our classroom ventilation tool, which is about an hour and a half recording of going through and figuring out how to actually calculate what your airflow rates are and how to determine your air cleaner's level of cleaning. Anyways, that video is, Bonnie was able to post it this afternoon, so it's available on the event website from last week. It was a really good session because it's very practical. anyways, we'll say goodbye then. Thanks again to all the speakers. We really appreciate your time in preparing and in sharing your time with us this afternoon. And happy, healthy, safe New Year.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep. Bye-bye.